Hi, everybody. Welcome to Two OGs Hooking and Stitching, Island style, coming to you from the Bay of Fundy on Deer Island in Canada. And this is part of the interview series. And today we have the lovely mosaic master, Courtney from Fiber Fox Studios. And we're going to start this off with a bang, and we're going to go right into Courtney. And Courtney's going to take it over, and she's going to introduce herself, tell us a little bit about herself before we start getting into questions and all kind of things. So, Miss Courtney, take it away.
Hello, I am Courtney, like she said, Fiber Fox Studios, and I am a crocheter, and I mostly focus on mosaic crochet here on the channel. And of course, I'm also a tiny house homesteader, so I do that as well. And I'm really very, very, very honored to be here. So thank you so much, Antionette, for having me.
Love to have you here. I'm not worthy. I love Courtney's patterns and charts. I mean, I just love them. I love her designs. In fact, I'm wearing my FAIRHAVEN.
Yes,
We'll talk about that. We'll talk
you
about
too.
that later. All right.
I appreciate it.
No worries, dear. So just tell I'm gonna start asking some questions. If there's anything you want to start off with before we get into some questions.
No, I mean, I'm good. I'm good. I'm here.
Okay. Well, then we're gonna start with a very basic question, which is a question I usually ask when I'm interviewing somebody. When did you learn to crochet?
So I actually learned first initially when I was 8 years old. My mom taught me, and I made an ugly scarf with a wonky edge. Worked on it forever. And I kind of put crochet down through my teenage years. I did a lot of other art forms instead. And I picked it back up in my early 20s, but I didn't become really, really like heavily into crochet until my late 20s. And then, all here through my 30s and now into my 40s. Yarn has been basically my main type of craft medium.
Okay. Well, going into that, speaking of yarn, um, is there a certain brand, a certain weight, a certain fiber that you prefer? I know you concentrate on mosaic, but in general, is there a specific brand and fiber and weight that you like to work with?
I mean, I love all yarn. So I am definitely never met a yarn that I did not like so far. But if I had to pick a favorite and say one yarn and one size, I would probably say Lion Brand Mandala, size 3, DK weight is my favorite. That's more probably because it's easier to film with that. If I had to ultimately just say one type of yarn I was going to work with forever, I would pick tiny yarn. I'd be in size 1 because I feel like that's what this is made in that I'm wearing. And I feel like it's so good for clothing. I'm in the South, so it's hot. So having that thin yarn, and I'm, fat, so it doesn't add extra bulk. I mean, I'm just being honest. Like, that's what I think of is like, I don't want to add extra bulk to the bulk.
You're fluffy.
I am, and very proudly so, but I don't want extra fluff, you know?
There. Okay. Well, so then you like acrylic.
I do. It's ease of care, but I've gotten so into wool, like since I did the terrible ruined wool swatch that I showed forever ago, like 2.5 years ago or so on the channel. Um, Ever since then, when I learned my lesson on how you cannot, cannot just do anything you want with wool yarn, you can't just throw it in a machine, throw it in a dryer. I really have come to love wool, and I really would have never thought that I would, but it is so warm and it's so cozy. And you kind of got me hooked on the whole scarn yarn, and you were the first person I ever heard mention that yarn, and I bought some of it, and I've got a whole bunch in my cart. I'm
Kitty
waiting.
Kaka. Kitty Kaka.
Yes, yes,
I
I
love
love
I do
that.
too. I'm actually doing Stephen West MCal with Holstein yarn.
Yes,
I do
yeah.
like you. I do
I
love.
thought that yarn you showed me before we started, I thought that was Holzgarn. I love that yarn. It's really nice yarn. It's really good price, but
Oh
you
my
know, there's
heavens!
10,000 yarn brands out there. I mean, really, how many is there? There's so many. We haven't tried them all. We can try though.
Well, that's just it. With Holzgarn, as you were saying, with Holzgarn, the one thing I like about them is one, their prices are really good, and when they have a sale, they get a really good sale. And they've got they've got a wool silk blend, a wool cotton blend.
Yeah,
They've got a wool cashmere blend.
yeah.
Um, and of course, my favorite, Titicaca. It's just fun to say. It's just fun to say, but it's a mohair, and it is so soft and so it's wonderful to work with. Um, but I remember in some of your other videos when you were doing garments and stuff, pre-mosaic concentration
Right.
day. You used to do a lot with the thinner yarns, 1 and 2. You did a lot with that, and it was always very, very lovely. And you did have the series where you were washing things. I She bought a sweater off me, and I put very specific directions not to wash this because it had not only a wool blend in it, it had mohair and mohair silk. And I said, this is not a washing machine in the dryer sweater unless you want a dog sweater. but living in the South with wool, especially the merino wool from the merino sheep, which I think is Australia. I mean, when you start getting in the technical side, but we won't get into it. Wool is made to work with your body's temperature. Not only does it keep you warm, but it will keep you cool. And people they think, oh, I can't do wool in the summertime. Yes, you can,
Yeah.
because wool will draw the perspiration. I mean, it absorbs.
Right.
It will keep you cool.
Yep. I've had zero issues with anything that I have made, even the stuff that I've made given away. I got a lot. I think it's Coast with Holzgarn is the line that has the wool and cotton blend,
Yes.
and that's the one that I had the most of. I did have some of their pure wool, that's just straight up wool, and then but most of what I did was the wool cotton blend, and I didn't really point out, like how much they needed to be mindful. I just said hand wash. And no one's even been like, wow, it's keeping me extra hot. Like, what is this made of?
Oh, it's a
I've
nice.
had zero complaints about it, and that's people that don't really realize that they're wearing wool. I told them hand wash it very gently, but they don't get the fact that it has that same fiber content in it that they thought they could not ever, wear
It starts
here in the
scratching.
South. Right.
Starts scratching.
It's not at all. It's nice yarn. I really do like it.
Just so you know, for future reference, if you buy from Holzgarn what they call super soft, it's not.
Yeah.
That is the more rustic type wool, like the Briggs and Little I send people.
Yeah.
But even Briggs and Little, when soaked, softens.
Yeah. And did you not feel that your super soft softened up? I felt like mine did.
It did soften up because most of Holzgarn's yarn still has some of the lanolin oil on it. That's why once you wash it, she just blooms. It does.
Yeah.
It is. It's a great yarn, and a lot of the big designers use Holzgarn. Stephen West, he does. That was one of the alternatives. I couldn't spend $200 on one of their kits. I couldn't. I mean, I love merino wool, but I've got 8 cakes of Holzgarn for $36. So Canadian.
Right.
So and it's a great yarn. Exactly, all about the deal. Well, segue into favorite hook. I know what your favorite hook is, but tell us. I mean, your everyday hook.
My everyday hook really is the Nelson Wood hooks. I really do love them. They are so comfortable in my hand. The size of them is where it's at for me. So it's not that you have to have a, Nelson Wood hook. I have to have something that is big like that. That is so comfortable in my hands.
It is.
So
I will agree. I will agree. And this is the one. Courtney's the one that got me. She sent this to me as a gift, and I since then had ordered 3 more. I have my pennies saved for my ice fairy and water fairy ones that I want.
Good,
So,
good, good,
so,
good. You
so I'm
deserve it.
saving my money. Yep, I got my bank back there. Well, outside outside of the Nelson hooks, because and again, that's an investment in your craft because they're
Right.
not a cheap hook. I mean, they're handmade, they're custom, they're a custom hook, but you can actually customize your hook with Nelson wood. And all this will be in the description box below after the video goes live. But
And we are not affiliated or sponsored.
no, we're not affiliated or sponsored with anybody we're talking about, whether it's a yarn company, a hook. The only thing that it's not a sponsor, but it's a showcase is for Fiber Fox Studios mosaic patterns. But before you started using the Nelson wood hooks, because I know you had mentioned before that you have arthritis, which I think most of us crafters do. We have an issue, especially the older you get, like us old parts.
Right.
Before you used that, what kind of hooks did you use, or do you still use?
Sure. I don't use them anymore. I was using, I originally started out like I think probably everyone does with the traditional straight metal needle, metal hook. And I'm a boy. I like the boy hook head back then. And so I started out with those, and then I did end up in that late 20s when I started getting into crochet a lot. That's where I started investing in the ergonomic ones, boys, still a boy hook, but had the little cushion grip handle on it. And those worked for me for a very long time. It wasn't until the channel that I just, because you're under pressure to complete items, and there's just a lot of extra work that goes into it, and I was having to crochet so much for so long, day after day after day, to get those things done, and then crochet all weekend to film it, that I really did some damage to my hands. And I started exploring other options. I started out with just shoving literally a chunk of wood from the yard out there on the end of a hook. And
Yeah,
I like made it smooth, I sanded it, but I actually made my first one like that. I even like sanded a thumb rest because I didn't realize what was all out there. I was hearing everybody talk about furls hooks. And at that point, I was still like, oh, I just can't do it. I can't do it. I can't spend that much. And that's hilarious, I know, because of what I, have ended up spending, but that's where I was. And so I used my chunk of wood one a lot, and then I finally bit and just said, okay, I'm going to try furls. They were having one of their sales. I tried furls, and I thought it was helpful. I got Odysseys. I did believe that it was helpful in some ways, but I was noticing a lot of thumb pain, and I brought that up in my video about the hooks. But I also like talked to some of the people who use them all the time, and they were saying like a learning curve and stuff like that. Your hand has to get used to it. And I did that for 6 months. I used those two furls hooks exclusively. And it just got worse and worse and worse because it's me, the way I hold. They can be, a complete wonderful hook for someone else. But for me, the way I hold it, the way I crochet, it was horribly painful. It got to be where just minutes in, my thumb, and I mean, it was shooting the pain all the way down. So I got on the internet searching, and I found Nelson Wood, his website, and I started looking around, and he had a ready to ship section. And so I found the very first one, and it was $45 with free shipping. And I was like, that's a lot, but I'm going to do it. And I bought one, and then it wasn't 3 weeks later after I received that hook, because I got it within days because it was ready to ship. 3 weeks later, I'm buying another one. And then I started doing it monthly. Every month I was buying one every month. Yeah, and I amassed a good collection.
well, we're going to ask now, do you have multiples in different sizes?
I do actually, because I primarily crochet with size 3 yarn on camera. So it's easy for people to see. So I didn't want to always have to use the same exact hook, because this is my crochet time. It's my whole experience. I'm just filming it and making swatches for y'all. So I wanted to really love what I was looking at, and I wanted it to be different. I have like,
They're
3 in several sizes that are the same, and then I have other ones. I filled up what I dedicated to be my Nelson wood hook storage, or all my hook storage, is one container, and I keep them in the plastic tubes that they come in, just like you did when you pulled that out. So I filled it up and it's full, and I can't fit any more. And so I'm not buying anymore.
unless a special very, because
Yeah.
I have him on Instagram, and he has a monthly hook thing he does. Again, we're not sponsored for this, but they are beautiful hooks. And again, I look at it as an investment. I believe Crystal bought them to be passed down as,
Yeah, she has a collection. She is a hook collector. So, I mean, she wanted these type of hooks in her collection. That was fantastic. Like, I saw when she did that video, and it was one I don't comment a lot, and I know that bothers some people, but I just don't. I especially feel weird going to creators who don't really know me. Like, we're not friends, we don't talk, and commenting anything when I'm as Fiber Fox Studios, because I just feel weird about it. But I had to. I was like, I am so excited to see this here on her channel, because I knew what that meant. And he was just bombarded with orders. I saw his posts on Instagram and stuff. I don't know the guy, I'm a fan and follow his work.
yeah, I do too, and it's beautiful. If I had
Oh,
a
it was
thousand
so,
dollars, if I had
and
a
I think,
thousand dollars, I'd go buy 10. I'd buy 10 hooks.
yeah, I think you were kind of caught up in some of that order frenzy that happened, because you had ordered around the same time, not knowing that she was going to do that video. And so he just, great for him. I mean, that's fantastic. They really,
He's a
really,
small
really are
business.
worth the money.
He's a small business, and most creators on here, we all believe in supporting the small businesses. We really
Yes.
do. Yeah. Yeah, we all order online from the big box stores, blah blah blah. But the crux of what we all do, because we're all, your YouTube channel is like a little small business to you, even if you're not monetized. It's
Right.
still a small business. But we try to support. I know I try to support the small businesses and the channels, because for a lot of them, they are, getting some income from it, and it does help. It's like a side hustle. But
Right.
yeah,
Right.
Nelson Wood hooks. I have a couple that I fell in love with, the Ice Fairy and the Water Fairy, and pretty much the way he has it on the site. I like the ivory wood, the white. Was it ivory or birch? Anyways, it was a white wood, but I love. And then I saw the Water Fairy. Well, living on an island, I'm obsessed with water. Okay,
Right.
I'm obsessed with water. Excuse me.
Yeah.
And that is a great segue when we were talking about supporting the small channel. Now we're going to go into, and we're going to talk about Courtney channel here on YouTube, which is Fiber Fox Studios, and have her give us a little bit of a timeline from when she started to where she's at now. And then there's a few other questions I'll be asking when she does that. Courtney, can you give us a timeline from when you started your channel to where you're at today, and how it evolved, and it kind of changed its path a little ways?
I can. I hate talking about myself, so let's start off with that. But let's see, the channel started 3 years ago on September 3rd. So this September 3rd was my third anniversary. And when I first started, I originally, one of my husband's aunts was needing to see how I made some of my little stuffy toys, to see if she could use them. She was doing donations and making toys. And so the very first videos that go up under the channel were really just for her, to see if she even, wanted to make these things. And then I decided that I would put out like my kimono cardigan and a few things, and it kind of took off from there. I didn't realize that anybody else would be watching. People started watching, and I very quickly ended up kind of focusing first on the clothing, and because I was making stuff for myself. We had moved a year prior to the property that I'm at now, And so I had downsized everything, and I had to get rid of just a lot of, clothing, just different things. So at the time when I started the channel, I was refreshing my wardrobe. I was adding some new crochet items in, and I was making these things for myself and just sharing what I was making. And then I started trying to keep up that pace. Like I mentioned before, you start feeling pressure, and keeping up the pace, working full time. Just it was really difficult. And one day I decided, after I'd been asked a few different times about a design that you could see just in part of a thumbnail, I was showing a border, and I did a border on a mosaic blanket. I wasn't teaching mosaic. I didn't even know that what I had done on that blanket was mosaic. I had self-taught myself to do this geometric type crochet, and I just kind of figured it out, and I did it for myself and did not know what it was called. People kept asking me about it, and so I kind of did a little more research, and I was like, I think I'm doing mosaic crochet, overlay mosaic. So I did those first videos, and they really didn't get a lot of response. But then Marley Bird did a crochet along on her channel for inset mosaic, so a different type, and that got people searching for mosaic. So a month after I ever started putting out my mosaic videos, Marley Bird does that, and then people really started searching, and I started seeing a lot more views on just the mosaic stuff. And over time, I decided I would just really focus on that. It was a lot easier for me to do a swatch each week than it was to create a whole entire garment and film the making of a whole entire garment. And so it evolved more out of what people were truly responding to and watching and requesting, and then also what really was realistic for one person to be a one person show. And then the patterns came from there, and that was literally just from being requested over and over and over. Because I didn't know if what I was doing as a chart, for myself to design the piece, was really what someone buying that would expect to receive. I didn't know anything. I didn't know what other people did or any of that stuff. So I eventually started showing what I was doing to make the designs, and I started selling them. People asked for them. And so I was like very reluctant. Still to this day, very reluctant designer.
Where can they find your designs?
Primarily, I put everything over on Etsy because they do accept just chart-based stuff, and I have a lot that are just chart-based. No written row repeat, no instruction. But I have started a Ravelry store, or I don't know how you say it. It's a FAIRHAVEN. Some people were telling me they have some type of like reader or something to help them with patterns on their phone, and they can use it with Ravelry. So they wanted me to put it there. And since FAIRHAVEN was a fully written pattern, so it qualified for Ravelry submission. So I put it over there on Ravelry. Yes.
This is the FAIRHAVEN shawl. So you can find it on FAIRHAVEN you can find on Ravelry, but you also have an Etsy store, I believe, too, don't you?
Right. I've got the
And
Etsy.
Ko-Fi?
Yeah, and I do have Ko-Fi. I think I only have like one thing over there on Ko-Fi as far as patterns go. It's just easier to kind of keep it all in one place. I know it makes me a bad business person because I don't put it everywhere it could be. I don't self-promote much.
Yeah, but your work itself promotes you, because a lot of other creators, your name is dropped. Mosaic. I mean, I can go on and look a bunch of channels that people have got into doing mosaic because of you. I mean, I got into mosaic because of Courtney, and I failed miserably. I mean, miserably. I had a whole thing of swatches that were like, they were just sad. They were really sad.
They were not that bad, y'all. They weren't. They really weren't. She was getting there. It was the end stitches, I think, was what was throwing you off,
Yeah.
and restart the repeat, at the end of the row for that one stitch. That was it. But you got past it. I knew you would. Like, you got past it.
Yes, and I sent my first finished piece. It was just like for a wall hanging or something, but I did send that to Courtney and say, look, I did it. But don't give up if you try it. And pretty much the most important thing about mosaic is stitch count, isn't it? To watch your stitch count.
Really, because once you're given, I think one thing people don't realize, they're intimidated by the stitch count, by the multiple, and keeping track of that. But literally every crochet stitch design that you've ever made has a multiple. It is no different. There's a repeat, you repeat X rows. It's no different. We're just working 2 stitches instead of, there's different stitch patterns. They can have 5 different stitches or even more, half double, double, all kinds of stuff in there. We just got 2 and 2 ways to make our stitch, and you just do it in a sequence. That's the trickiest part to it, is listening to what I say and doing exactly as I say. And if you do exactly what I tell you to do, it will come out. It will work out.
And it does. And the thing is, with the mosaic, I get excited. I'm working on one now, but I can't show it because it's a gift. But I get excited as the pattern itself begins to emerge, and you're seeing. I'm doing a butterfly lane, butterfly alley, which are 2 of my favorite patterns by her. I absolutely. I mean, I love my FAIRHAVEN, but as far as a chart goes, is the X. I love butterflies. But and now I have anchors I've got to do too. But it's really it's amazing you don't get bored because it's
Right.
amazing because you want to get to the next row and the next row and the next row, and you don't turn your work. That's what's nice about it. You don't turn your work. I tried that anchor style. No, I'll stick with the pockets in the back. But it's just, and then you get that first total 27, 28, or whatever the number of rows to make,
Right.
like, wow. And
Right.
you also have additional videos on the channel where she teaches you about reading a mosaic chart. And I mean, tell them a little bit more about some of the additional, besides the tutorials on the individual charts themselves or designs. You do offer other videos as far as the mosaic's concerned.
I do. I have a how-to playlist, and that's like the go-to playlist for all the things: how to do this, how to do that, how do I, all those questions I'm trying to answer there on that playlist. So I teach about how to read your chart, how to, if you have something, because you'll find on the internet, like they look like they could be mosaic, or they're probably tapestry. A lot of times they're tapestry or knitting charts. And so they will look similar, and people will want to turn that into a mosaic crochet. I have a video that teaches you how to go about looking at that and marking it for personal use, not for people to steal people's designs, but just how to mark a chart, how to design. I even showed what I was doing at that point in, I think, June of 2020. I show how I was creating my charts, how I was going through, and I have several different videos talking about multiples and all that. I have videos about how you can take many of my different designs and create one project with it, like blankets and that sort of thing, like large projects. So there's a lot of different videos that teach you just basically how to be your own designer and pick out things and put them together in a project, or create your own charts. Um, it's been a very popular video recently. I'm not really sure why, but I am seeing a lot more traffic on that here just recently. Anyway.
Well, it is. So, I mean, and the thing is, one thing about at this point in time that Courtney does is she does a complete tutorial on the entire chart. I'm talking from start to finish. Okay. She does the whole swatch, the whole chart. And my only issue I've told her with that, because like Courtney, I was in business. Okay. I got my degree in business and stuff. And I try to support the small Etsy shops. She has an Etsy shop. And I said, I try to encourage people to go to a designer's Etsy shop or their website, whatever, to buy the pattern, because it's a small, her patterns aren't expensive. She has specials running now and then, and get the design. It supports the designer, but you also have the paper form, or if you have an iPad or whatever that you keep it on, there for all posterity. So that's the only thing I say. I mean, it's great that she does these tutorials from start to finish, but it's kind of for her to be able to keep doing this, we have to get these patterns out there and get them sold. So, and she's so generous, she donates to a lot of channels. There are gifts of her patterns, or a pattern chart bundle. Oh, don't shh me. Don't shh me. She does. These behind the scenes that you don't know, Courtney. Courtney's I love the laugh. I think a lot of people come to the videos for that laugh, because you can't help but just bubble up and want to giggle. It makes you feel good. But
Thanks. She is biased, y'all. She's very biased.
Nothing I'm biased on is going this way. I'm biased on the bias. My bias is going out. The multiple is increasing. The multiple's increasing.
I'm gonna have to use that.
Got it in there. And say we're playing on words that are involved with our craft. But so that was just one of the things. That's my little PSA. Support your small designers and small Etsy shops, because it is important that we all do.
It is appreciated too. We all appreciate it. Everybody appreciates the support. I know. I very sincerely do. I don't know if you know this, Antoinette, because you're going to get on to me because I'm such a bad business person. All my Etsy listings say that there's a free tutorial on my YouTube channel. In the description on my Etsy shop, I say there is a free tutorial, or there will, like for which chart it is. Because some of my chart sets, there are sets and there's lots of designs all within it. Changes to the design. So there's options in there. So it's in the description of the items that there's a free tutorial.
Well, okay. And that's fine, because I had a pattern that I put out, and I'm yet have been able to do the tutorial for it. I said future tutorial coming. They just didn't know how far into the future it was.
Right.
And I think that's great, because a lot of channels, and the thing is, your tutorials are easy to follow. I mean, I don't want to say this without sounding condescending or belittling, but if you can't follow Courtney's tutorials, give it up, because hers are that well put together. They're that detailed that
questions. If you're not getting something, ask questions nicely before you get frustrated and give up. Because sometimes, somebody might land on a video where I don't go into certain details, especially back in my earlier mosaic stuff, because I was really getting, for every really nice comment that I was receiving, a bad comment as well, telling me how annoying I was. I was seeing it in the message in the groups on Facebook and stuff. So that's why I am completely not active on Facebook groups. I really am not. Like there was a mosaic crochet world and stuff, but I would go in there and I'd see people basically trash talking me in the comments. Like someone would post something that they had made that was something of mine, and then people were talking about me in the comments. Like I just went to say, oh, thank you for posting this. Your work is beautiful. And I see all this stuff where there were names I recognize from my comments on my channel, and they didn't tell me what their complaint was. They never came to me about it. They were trash talking me in the comments. And I just don't like that negative stuff. So I was just like, okay, I'm done with there. I just won't, because that was bringing a lot of negative feelings for me.
good.
So I don't know. I'm bad at promoting. I'm bad at a lot of things.
But you're phenomenal at mosaic and crochet. And
I'm trying. Everybody's got room to grow and room to learn.
Well, we all you learn till the day you leave this world. But as far as just hitting on that there, and this applies to anything, Instagram, any of the social media platforms. If you don't have something nice to say, don't say it. If you have something, I call it constructive criticism, but put it in a nice way. Because I say that on my channel all the time. Hey, if you have any concerns, complaints, constructive criticism, but be nice. You're not nice, I block you. You want to trash about me because I blocked you? I mean, thankfully, so far, I haven't had to do that. But then
Oh,
again,
my block button
I'm
is
just a
on.
little tiny pea in the pod of white tea. But
I am super good at the block button. I have no qualms with that. I use it all the time.
well, but see, that's just the thing. There are some people that are just not nice, and
Right.
I truly believe in the positive in, positive out. If a person is just constantly negative, and that's all they put out is, I don't need that. I block it because I don't want it in my life, in
Right.
any aspect of my life. And here on our channels and what we do, we're here because we love what we do. We love to share, and if we can inspire, teach, or help create, it's a bonus.
Right.
I've always said, when I quit enjoying what I'm doing, I'm done with the channel. Pretty much.
Same. Doesn't matter how
Exactly.
big it gets to. I stop enjoying it. Life's too short.
Exactly.
And that's if in the beginning with you're being told both. You're being told your video is exactly what I needed in order to get it, but you're also being told by people you're explaining too much, you're doing too much, you don't need to do all this. You're annoying because you're re-explaining the same thing that you explained on all those other videos. And I was still learning and trying to figure out how to make these videos. And I was so nervous, and I expressed that a lot in those talking videos that I did back then, Tales from the Truck and all. And I was talking to people in the comments and expressing like how nervous I am, and I don't know if I'm doing stuff right. And then to have that feedback coming in, they weren't constructively criticizing. They were just trying to make me feel bad, is how it felt. It wasn't like giving me any idea of what direction they needed. They were just being nasty. So that made, when every week when I was sitting down and giving up my entire weekend to make a video, I was leaving out certain things in those initial videos. Like, I was trying to accommodate everybody. I was trying to get people just to stop being so nasty to me. But then I was also trying to give people what they needed to be able to learn. So someone might land on one of those videos and it's not as concise, and I don't give all the same tips that I do now. Like, now I have a format that the videos begin with, but first 3 rows, I show certain things that you need to know, and I show the tips that are very necessary for you to know, and then we move on and we resume a normal pace, so that my people who don't need that first 3 rows of instruction, they can skip all that. And I'm not being extra annoying all throughout the video. But just know that there was people that asked me to keep doing the videos exactly the same way because it was really helping them.
Well,
I was not trying to make people mad. I was really just trying to help. And I had 30 watchers at that time. Like, I had like a core group of 30. So it was easy to get feedback from certain people. And then when the big onset happens, you just are kind of bombarded. And as great as that is on one hand, it is so overwhelming, and it can be really difficult to deal with when all of it is not positive. Good thing for all of us, I guess, because y'all do like, for those that do like my channel anyway, is I have a disorder and I cannot take opposition very well. So when you come at me as like an oppositional and opposing me and being nasty to me, then I immediately push back. And it's a gut reaction and I can't help it. So I was like, oh, you want to be nasty to me? Here's 10 more videos.
well, exactly. But see, that's the thing. There are just some people that, no matter, if you have an issue with somebody, an issue with the channel, an issue with the pattern, contact the person personally. You don't air your dirty laundry on the internet, okay? And if they continue to be negative, nasty Nellies, then you just don't deal with them, because there's some people, there's no pleasing.
Right.
The one thing I have when it comes to these channels, and I see it all the time, I don't say anything about it, but I will unsubscribe or I will leave. Do not bash other people's channels, please. If you're not happy, there's a thing called click change the channel.
Right.
Excuse me. If you don't, then don't watch. This is the thing. I always kept saying there's an off button. There's an off button. Just like on your radio, there's an off button.
Hey, right. And there's some
And
people, and I know I saw this recently, and not to, obviously neither one of us know Crystal, but I saw it, and it so resonated with me when I saw this happening to her in her comments. And it was another video of hers, and I was going to comment, and I go down to the comments, and there's a pinned comment. And I'm like, what is this? I read it, and it's someone being horrible to her. And she pinned their comment and replied to it. And I saw her reply, and I've experienced this where these people will change their username. They'll keep creating new accounts. Every time you block them, they won't stop. And they have such negative energy. And even if you ignore it, they will just keep coming. And that's the side of things that I have no understanding of. I don't get it why anyone would put that type of energy. It's crochet that we're doing here. This is not controversial content, or it shouldn't be. This is relaxation. This is a positive energy space. Like, that is what this is for. So at the same time, it's like, I'm small, I'm small. I'm no better, no bigger than anybody else. I'm just like everybody else. She is too. We're all just humans, and we all have feelings, and people forget that. And I think that a lot of these people don't realize that the impression that they could be making is not the impression that they would want to leave on this world. And you have to think that way. Like, what if that was the last thing that person read? Just saying, so it's like, we have to really take a step back. And I think that there's been enough people speaking out about things in the crochet community over the years that we all know that it exists, and all we can do is try to keep on the awareness of it. And if you see it, say something. Don't just assume that creator is going to defend themselves. And I'm not saying people need to go around and pick fights. You react with kindness to that, and you say, something to them that is kind, and just say something, though. Don't just expect that it'll go away. It won't. And it's okay if you see it and it bothers you, then you can say, hey, you don't have to be like that. I hope you have a wonderful day. You don't have to attack anybody. Like,
exactly. And it's
in real
not just
life,
it's just not the crochet community, the knitting
it's
community.
every community. It's
And
YouTube as a whole. It's the internet as a whole.
I mean, it spills over onto IG, FB, and I mean, the bullying. That's what it is. It's bullying, and none of us tolerate bullies. None of us tolerate
No.
bullies. The majority of the creators I know, we keep our channels positive with non-controversial subjects, because this is a place where people come to feel safe. This is a place where they come to talk fiber or things related to that, or even just to have a chit chat, but when it's in the public, exactly, when it's in the public view and it's available to anybody, you have to be responsible. It's called being a responsible creator. If that's the kind of channel you want, then you put it as such. This is a channel we're going to discuss all the crap that's going on in the world.
Right.
I don't want that, because, and I tell everybody, even in the yayas.
Yeah.
I tell them in the about thing there, it kind of gives you your guidelines. We don't talk about this, or this.
Right.
If you want to do it,
about y'all's group. That's one of the groups I still do visit.
Yeah, well, that's the thing.
Visit my friends' groups.
Well, exactly, because it is a private group. But you take your YouTube channel and you put it to subscribers only. Well, then you're not going to grow, okay? And you're not getting out to other people. There might be a person out there that's just meant to find you and meant to, oh my gosh, look at the mosaic, I can do it,
Right.
But the handful of people out there that are so miserable in their life that they want everybody else to be miserable. But by turning that negative into a positive, you've just brought back the balance. And like you, I try the same thing. And I keep the negative out of my life, whether it's my family or television, or
Mhm.
the news, or what have you, because
Correct.
life is too short. I want to be happy. Even we all have sad days. We all have sad times, but it's what you do with that. I always try to focus on the positive and, you know, keep that in my channel, in my everyday life. We all slip up. We all have bad hair days, but,
You do
but
well. I mean, I do love your channel for those reasons. You know, it's not, you're not getting into any of those hot button issues and all. It is really about just you as a person, positivity, fiber, projects, different, tools that you're trying, different yarns that you've purchased. Like that is, it's great. It's good. It's uplifting content.
and
I mean,
that's
that's
what we
what
want. I was
that's what
very
you're providing, and that's what your comments should be about, like how
that
uplifting good they are. Like we're
well,
not
that's
being
excuse me. That's what I was um trying to with, because this is about Courtney. But that's what I was trying to emphasize. Courtney's doing these mosaic tutorials that are very detailed, and you've got 500 comments. Now that 500 comments, you got 10%, 50 comments, or even 5% that are like, well, I just don't understand. If you don't understand something, then message her and say, I don't understand this. Here's the great thing. Other people within the comment section itself, I have seen that help them. And they'll just, and then they get nasty with that person. So at that point, it's like, this person here is not interested in what it is I'm trying to teach or what I'm trying to show. They're just
right.
nasty.
Right.
What we call trolls.
Yeah.
And you will get those in your lives. It took a while, but I started getting trolls, and some of them are nasty. Nasty,
Yes,
nasty, nasty.
I'm sure. So far, I've been blessed, but yeah, I'm expecting it.
Well, you got to
I've
get
got to set
moderators.
people up as moderators. Yeah, I do
Yeah.
have to set people up as moderators.
I was taught how to do that. I can show you. It's really easy. Talking about the channel, do you were well, actually, I'm going to go back later. I have a few questions about your designs. Well, let's keep it here. What was your most challenging design?
FAIRHAVEN was the most challenging design because it is what it is. It's increasing, and those increasing when doing mosaic crochet, that is something I'm still, working. I'm definitely not a master at it at all. Big learning process. I'd never been able to make a shawl like that before and did not know how I was ever going to be able to. And I figured it out, and there you have it. That was the most challenging. It was definitely the most challenging. It took the most time. I worked on that for 4 months, the design itself and the actual written. And then it took me 3 weeks, full weeks, to film and produce the videos for each of the parts.
Very
And I
detailed.
3 weeks, 3 full working weeks.
Yep. I actually had, I only had to actually reference. I mean, I watched them just because I like Courtney, but I only had to reference a few areas in the pattern that I was a little bit confused about. But once I looked, it's like, yeah, that clicks, because it was a full written pattern, and that's what I loved. I can do charts, but I'm so slow. I am like elementary chart reader, whether it's knitting, crocheting, or Tunisian. Okay, let's just say it.
Right.
I like the written pattern. And actually know some big, huge designers that I'm talking have books out and stuff like that. One of them I test for a lot, and we had discussed this. She does the charts because it's the industry standard, but she really is not great at reading charts herself. She likes the written pattern.
See, and I'm the opposite, but of course I'm not a professional. And I'm like, charts are what I like, but it's, everybody's a little bit different. That's why I add it was one of the things that, was requested, especially with the Moroccan lantern design that I put out. That was probably my most popular still to this day. Of things that I released, Moroccan lantern by far has done better than everything else, shawl, all of it. But on that one, because it was the first time I was releasing a larger design, and a lot of people asked for the written row instruction next to it. They were telling me they were making notes next to their chart from the video and all to kind of help them. So after that, I started working on including that. And so next to the charts, or if the chart is too big for, to make it where you can read it, because I try to keep everything as big as possible. Either directly next to the chart, there's written row repeat info, or it'll be a separate page when that is necessary. A lot of my beginning stuff, a lot of people ask, about where am I getting my inspiration from and stuff. And it's really, there's a lot going on up in here, but it's all kind of dictated by what really will be reasonable to film and put on YouTube. And each thing that I do, like with FAIRHAVEN being my most challenging, I've kind of learned that I don't know if YouTube is the best place to put something like that, because of the length of those videos, and it's an attention span thing, I think, for some people. Nothing I can do to make it shorter, so it is what it is. They are epic long videos though, so they're necessary. If you don't have that written, you need that video, so I mean, I don't really know how to do something like that, but I don't know if YouTube is the best place for 4-hour long epic novel, multiple video type projects.
Well, that's something I actually have an idea that just popped into my head, but that's something we can talk about after the interview. But so FAIRHAVEN was your most challenging design, and the inspiration for your designs comes from
my brain. So I've always been an artist. This is what a lot of people don't know about me. I've always been an artist in some way or another, sculpting, that sort of thing, drawing, painting. And so in my mind, there are a lot of things just floating around, but then I take and grab inspiration from printed fabrics, items in the background of a TV show, and all the designs are kind of flowing around in my head, and I'll start thinking about something. And this is kind of like how the process goes. I'll start thinking, okay, I'm vibing with a, diamond that transforms into something else. And then I start playing with that concept. And sometimes I just have to think about it for days and days and days. And then other times I start playing with it and it immediately starts coming together. But then it'll morph into something completely different. And then it'll be something that's way too big for YouTube tutorials. So then I'll start kind of working it, trying to shrink it down, changing elements. And then it becomes something. Like, I don't really I never sat down and say, I am definitely going to make X item today, because I kind of just have to kind of go with the flow. I try a concept, it doesn't work out, morph it into something else.
your creative process. It is process, the definition of process, doing A, B, and C to get to D.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes A, B, and C turns into A, B, C, D, X, Y, Z, and then finally back to the finished product.
Okay. Well, talking about your channel and stuff like that, we were I know a lot of people, you hear people talk about the numbers, analytics, data. Do you worry about your numbers?
I don't necessarily worry about them. I do become aware of them. Obviously, it's the first thing you see when you log into your creator studio. So I know about where I'm at on everything, subscriber counts. I know about how many views I should expect to see on a video. It's decreased here recently. Well, in the last 6 months, it's been declining. So I have like a new normal that I'm looking for. And the views really just help us to gauge whether the content is worth putting the time into, because if it just doesn't get many views, then there's no point in focusing on that stuff. So I pay attention like overall, but if I really was stressing about it, I would have done something different by now, because I've seen a decline and it doesn't change anything for me. Gonna keep it on. Like a 50% drop. I
Oh,
mean, it's
wow, that's a big drop.
right. So like was getting 100,000 views over the whole entire channel. Now I'm more like, 49,000 or something. You know what I mean? So I look at those kind of things, and I also look at everything that is going on, and I just don't let it affect me. It'll be there when people have time, and hopefully they will keep coming back. And if they don't, that's okay.
Well, but Courtney was very instrumental in helping me get to 1K because she had promoted my channel stuff, and I'd have people come over and say, "Hey, I'm over here because Courtney," you know,
Oh.
she was one of the people that was very instrumental in that. But you know, 1K, but then you have 10% that watch us. You have, where are you at now? 37,000?
It's 38 something now. It's gone over
38 now?
just 38, yeah. Or maybe 39. I don't know. Okay, so I don't watch my numbers that close.
Okay. But excuse me, but of that, would you say, was it 10% or that you can see a consistent return?
Percent. It did used to be 10%. Like if I was hitting 10% of whatever my subscriber count was, if I was getting 10% of that on a video, then I was, golden, happy as can be. It was, and I saw that steadily. Then, and this could be an analytics thing with YouTube because it did take me the 3 weeks to film FAIRHAVEN. So I had 3 weeks where I was not putting out content. I was just doing posts to let people know I was still around. But it was almost like it kicked me out of the YouTube analytics graces,
Okay.
And then I put out the content, but then the response just wasn't as much. YouTube does, in fact, control a lot of that in a way because they can recommend your video or not. And YouTube makes it such a pressurized system that you literally have to put out content consistently every single week, or it feels like you don't get pushed, not being recommended, you're not popping up. So
Excuse me.
that was the only thing that happened channel wise. And that was immediately met with the 50% drop, those 3 weeks. And I was declining all 3 weeks. And it was like jumping down, declining all the numbers, everything with the down arrow.
I
The
see
boom
that too.
down arrow. And I had not seen that, nothing like that. I mean, ever. I had never went 3 weeks without putting out a video either.
Yeah. You've always been
So
very consistent.
that's the only thing. If there was something that caused it besides people just getting sick of me, which totally could be it, and that is okay. It had to have been that. Like
No, I can't.
I don't like is it is
I
hard
don't.
to I can't create under a time frame, under a gun, like that's not me. So there's going to be weeks where I'm just not gonna have anything because whatever the concept is I was working on didn't work out. And, when I quit my job a year ago, July was a year. And I didn't quit my job to become a full time YouTuber, but I did spend most of my time on it. I like to crochet. So, but, as the homestead grows, I do have less time to put into, these things. And doing a video a week, yes, I could do that potentially, but I can't do full size projects. And I'm getting a lot of requests for those. And that's why I was saying I don't really know if YouTube is the best place for that type of content, and we'll talk after because
I got an idea for that.
I think I have my solution.
But that's a good segue into this next question. Living in a tiny house or a shabin, as you like to call it, it will present some challenges for yarn storage, your videoing, and along with that, since you downsized, what other interests have you got into? So that's a lot of questions for you to answer.
Yeah, a lot of questions. Okay, so yarn storage, we'll cover that one first. You have to get creative. I had to reduce the amount of yarn that I had. And if you had seen the totes and totes that I was carrying here, you would have thought she didn't reduce anything. But I had an entire yarn room at my regular full size house. And so I had to stop buying yarn before we moved up here for a long period. And that was fine. I had a lot of yarn. And then that pile came and we had to build custom storage in the stairs. And that was where all my yarn was supposed to fit, but it didn't. Well, the initial yarn did. It did extra double stuffed in there, like pushing it down, cramming in more type thing. So it did fit, but then obviously gotta have more yarn. So now I have 2 storage ottomans, a storage coffee table, and my couch is from IKEA. It folds into a full-size bed. And underneath it, it has a storage compartment for the pillows and things, so that when you use it as a bed, like bedding should be down there. And that is crammed full of yarn. But like, that was my husband's idea. That was his idea. We went to IKEA and I was going to buy a completely different couch. Like, I had my mindset on this, obviously it's tiny house, so the smaller the furniture, the better. And I had this, couch picked out, $250 couch, half the size of the couch that I have, no storage or anything. And he was like not having it. He did not like the couch. He was like, when you sat on it with your yarn, there's not going to be any room for me. Which it was true. And I was like, well, yeah, I guess you're right. So then we start looking around and he spots this couch, and him and my mom are away from me in the showroom at IKEA. And he lifts the little thing, the handle on it that brings out the bed. And when he did that, there's this open compartment down there, and he's literally standing in IKEA with my mom right beside him. And he goes, Courtney, your yarn. And my mom's hitting him like, Charlie. And she was like, but you're right. So, got that. That has like really been very useful. So you get creative with yarn storage. I do have less yarn than you, I'm sure. And that is the downside of it, is because it's so small, I can't have yarn on display. So that's kind of bad. It would make it look really, I think, hectic and busy in here if I had a whole bunch of yarn, out. So that's the downside, though, is I can't look at all my yarn. You used to be able to walk into a room, and I am one of those people that wants to see it all on the wall and look at it. And that is, inspiration to me, just the colors and all. So that's the downside. Upside is that I consume less, I buy less, but I've turned everything imaginable into storage for yarn.
Well, it is your business. Well,
Right?
other than the chicken lady, because Courtney, I call her the chicken lady. You want to tell them why I call you the chicken lady?
She calls me chicken leg because I got chickens coming out my ears now. I lied to my husband, said I wanted to be a farmer. It was a lie. I don't want to be a farmer. I just want to have a lot of animals. Totally worked. He would never let me get 24 dogs, but he let me get 24 birds. And I'm like, oh, my other interests, I was supposed to answer that. My other interests have to do obviously with farm animals, birds and stuff. I really enjoy the chicken keeping. They are my pets. So I enjoy that, but I'm also into failing at growing a garden, like food. I'm totally into that. I've mastered failing growing food. I grew one apple. This year, that's my big harvest, is one apple. So I'm still learning on the gardening. So I do research a lot on different ways to grow. I'm trying different methods and all. And this place it's a different almost climate right here, in this little cove in the swamp that I'm in. So it's a challenge, and animals are a big challenge because there are a lot of wild animals here, and they eat everything, everything, absolutely everything. But I also am really into like natural healing, natural ways to like lower blood pressure, help with diabetes and that sort of thing. That is kind of like a family thing. My family's always been like a little bit into traditional type medicine. So it's always been there. But in, last 10 years or so, I've gotten really into that sort of learning what's in the food and why they're putting certain things in food and what we should and should not eat. And that all comes into the whole trying to have a homestead and be self-sufficient here, not having to rely on going to the store to get things that, either bad produce or, they've sprayed it with chemicals or whatever. And I'm still learning. So I have a lot of interest in the kind of homesteading life, do it yourself life. Besides, just yarn and crafts, like I go out into the yard and break my nails and glue on more. We're at the we're at far, far, far past the having nice nails like it used to. Those used to be my natural nails. Okay, now we got a bunch of press-ons because out there,
Work for a living.
you know, using tools and shoveling and raking
that,
and doing all kinds
Green Acres is the place. Farm living. It's the life for me.
Yeah.
I can see Courtney out there with her nails and her furs and her diamonds and saying, baby, give me Park Avenue.
I know, right? When I go thrift store shopping with my mom, that's another interest. We do really enjoy doing that, like just going thrift store shopping. Just to go and look, even if you don't buy anything. But I look at the clothing. My mom loves to look at clothes, like in thrift stores for whatever reason, and we joke about stuff as we're doing that. That might be why she likes it. Plus, she like always buys clothes. So we going down the aisle, and you get to where there's prom dresses and evening gowns and stuff like that, wedding gowns. And man, for the right price, if I ever find my size, I am going to be in some sort of elegant gown out there cleaning out chicken coop.
I want video. I want video of that. With your pearls and your hair up in a nice chignon. Yeah, that would be.
I think it would be fun. I think it would.
Well, if you only pay $10 for the dress, you don't care if it gets ruined with chicken poop.
Exactly.
Are you going to be barefoot like Ellie Mae?
No, I do not go barefoot just because like there's too many snakes and stuff. Like I gotta be ready to run at any moment up here. So believe it or not, I can run up a hill. It's not as fast as the running down the hill, but I can do it.
Oh my God. That's why I like where I live. We don't have anything. I mean, we've got everything we have for the most part is in the water. We have garter snakes up here, which I still don't like. We do have coyotes, bear, but it's black bear. They're not going to hurt you.
Right.
Vultures, turkey vultures,
right.
Turkeys. So nothing, but everything we have is in the water that like the great whites would eat you. No, I don't like snakes. I don't like mice, bugs. No.
You would
But
not.
I'm not a girly girl. I'm not a girly girl either.
Not like it here, and I'm a very much try to leave no trace, leave everything as it is. It was here first, so I deal with rattlesnakes every week. And they are not aggressive. They don't chase you down. You just have to be aware that they're there and use a long stick to kind of tap it, and they'll usually go on back into the wood line and all that. You have to know where they're going to camp up, and park themselves and be ready to, hunt or whatever that they're doing. So you just learn to live with it. And I'm very much like, they have a purpose. They're supposed to be here. So, I'm crawling with rattlesnakes, coral snakes. I mean, it's a lot of
snakes.
Always up here.
Do you have do you have a venom kit at the house just in case?
No, I do not. I do not have anything like that. Like it is we don't mess with them, so they don't mess with us.
Well,
we have time to get to the hospital, even with the coral snake, which is the most venomous snake in this part of the United States anyway. We have 4 hours, so I can get somewhere, or he could get somewhere.
Well, it might be smart of you to get a venom kit just in case something happens, like the car don't start or something like that.
That's true, because I could scream all I want, no one will come.
Well, because you're so off grid. But that might be a smart thing to do, is have a venom kit.
I will look into it. I hadn't really even thought about it. Like I was just like, I'll just use a belt to, stop my leg from pumping blood and drag myself to the car. Staying calm. I tell myself, tell myself if something bad happens, you have to stay calm because you start, hyperventilating and stuff like that, get all worked up. It just makes everything worse. You're either ineffective and can't do anything to help, or you're pumping the poison faster.
The adrenaline's causing. See, that's the nurse in me telling you to, or the firefighter, one or the other, telling me make sure you have your venom kit. I mean, I have my EpiPen. You need to have your venom kit because it just
probably.
if you have any allergies to bees or hornets or stuff like that, yeah, you should have an EpiPen. And I will tell you, and this is no, I won't say anything. I'll tell you that off channel because I don't you have to be careful. But so while that's a good thing. So the challenges of living where you live and living in a tiny house then would be you have to get creative in your storage. You have to live minimally. You can't have a lot of stuff.
Right. One thing in, one thing out ratio.
Well, hopefully one of these times we'll get a little glimpse into your daily routine with the chickens. I'd enjoy a video on that. And I bet you put it in the comments.
My crazy rooster under control, then I can. Because right now, with the way he's been acting, I cannot have my hands holding a camera or be worried about a camera and be up there. I need to be ready to defend myself and deflect.
Set up a tripod with your phone and put it in on wide angle and go in and do your thing. And then you can always edit later. Me, I don't edit. I leave it all in.
Right.
And then you can turn and say, like that, like in Home Alone, where he comes and he's going, you could be running all over the place.
Yeah.
If you want to see something like that, put it in the comments. If we want to see her battling the chickens, put that in the comments. And actually, when this goes to premiere, anyways, you're going to be able to ask her in real time. And
yes,
say, yes, I'd love to see that.
Yes,
not getting attacked, but just her defending herself. And
I might get attacked though. Like I can't tell you for sure.
We'll give it. We'll put a disclaimer at the beginning of the video. Not for the stomach. That's funny. Well, I have taken up a lot of your time, but there's a few things I want to just kind of bring everything together, and that we did not talked about, but we can also put it in the summarization here because we've talked about the challenges you have encountering during your YouTube journey. You've talked about why you're not active on Facebook anymore. You're active poquito because I'll see you post you do post on your Fiberfox that new video coming out, new tutorial coming out.
Right.
And you're on Instagram.
Yeah.
TikTok?
No.
Yeah,
no TikTok or anything. Nothing.
Pinterest?
Like I do have a Pinterest. I just same thing when I post a new pattern from Etsy, then I'll share it there.
Okay.
Whatever features they have to make it easy where you just click something and then it shares it. That's what I use.
Okay. Well, then as in summation, basically, where do you see yourself going with the channel, your crochet, and your homesteading? I mean, kind of like getting immediate, short-term, long-term goals.
Well, short-term goals, I just need a couple more areas finished up outside for living areas. So that's my short-term homestead goals, is making the outside kitchen a little bit better, doing outside laundry area, altogether. I don't have one right now. So that's my short-term homestead goals. Eventually I'd like to have gardens and stuff here. And I'm thinking goats and bees, but I'm not sure yet whether I'll do both of those or just one. And then for the channel, I've got some projects I want to make for myself. So I have like a few purses coming up, and then I want to make a mosaic cardigan. I just, I've got to work on it for myself first. So that's kind of my long and short-term goals for the channel, is to have some more projects where it's not just a swatch and you make a blanket or whatever you want to make. I do love that, and that is something that will never go away. But I would like to spend just a little bit of time on the projects, like actual making things. I'm making things for my house too. And so I'm going to be focusing on what I need and what I want for a little bit. And I'll just film it and hopefully other people will enjoy it. You know?
Do you have any tutorials where you actually do a mosaic in the round? Do you have any tutorials? I haven't had a chance to do all your
Yeah,
bits of me.
I've got two where they're just strictly we're working in the round in that video.
Okay. I'll have to check that out.
It's easier for people to omit in stitch instruction rather than add it in. So that's why I haven't done a lot of in the round, because the flat, I can tell you, ignore the stuff and you're just working the repeat stitches that I'm showing you. And so that kind of makes it easier for a lot more people to be able to use flat or in the round on my regular tutorials. But I do have two for sure that are strictly, we're working in the round. I'm trying to show you how I do my joins and everything as we come around in the pattern. So those are out there, and that's what I refer when people are not really sure how to do it. I'm like, at least go watch the first few rows of this, and then I think you'll be fine. You'll be able to come back to the pattern that you want to do.
Okay. Well, that's so we know we can look forward to in the future. But again, like with the Shaw, that's going to be a lot of time, and that may be tutorials that are on a different platform. We'll talk about that. So the favorite thing about having your YouTube channel and the favorite thing about homesteading.
My favorite thing about the channel is actually all the wonderful people that I do get to meet. Like, we talked about bad stuff earlier, but there obviously, there is some really great people on here, and all the kind people that I have been able to impact their lives. They've impacted my life, so that is my favorite thing about it. The community aspect of it, getting to know other people that enjoy the same types of crafts that you do. I mean, it's just fun. I don't know a lot of crocheters. I know a few, but not a lot. So it's fun, that aspect of it. And then my favorite thing about mosaic really is, to me, the reason why it is my favorite type of crochet is because I make things that look more like fabric. And I really like Art Deco is like one of my all-time favorite design styles. And if you look at like Art Deco stuff, it's geometric shapes and that sort of thing. Strong colors, strong shapes. And so to me, mosaic, I just vibe with that. Like, it's just my personal style. So it's that. And then, I also really love like lacy, frilly girly type tiny stuff. But I don't know. It's just, it's so different, I think, is what it is. It's just so different than when you think about crochet and, what people genuinely call to mind. Mosaic is just different. And there's other really awesome techniques out there that I haven't learned yet that are like that. Like, you're like, what? That's crochet? And that's what I love about it, is it's just so different.
Okay. And what's the best thing about living in a tiny house?
It takes you very short time to clean.
Hey, she's being honest. She's being honest with it. And I know this is probably going to be a very long video, but that's all right.
Yeah.
That's okay. We're gonna do the premiere with it. But will you come on again in the future, Courtney? Even if we just do an announcement about a new design or a new something coming out, would you be willing to come back on the channel at any time?
Oh, of course I would. I would do anything for you. Anything you need. You just tell me.
I want you to come up here and visit me on Deer Island.
Yes, I want you to. I've got to get a passport.
We'll work on that.
About that.
Well, we're going to say that she can be found on YouTube, Pinterest, Etsy, Ko-Fi, Ravelry, and there's a few other places that I'll tell her about that she can. There's supposed to be a way that you can upload patterns to multiple platforms. So we got to do some research on that. But somebody told me that you can do that.
Awesome. That would be so
So,
awesome.
well, and this is what it is. Creators helping creators, designers helping designers. That's all it's about. It's all helping each other. And that's what makes this community so great. And Courtney, I have to say, I have so enjoyed having you here and talking with you. I mean, we talk off channel, but you know, I'm hoping that this will get people get to see a little bit more into you, because she is doing lives now, by the way, just heads up. She is beginning to do lives, and we're working on improving her internet. But that's another video. Um anything
Lots
you'd
of
like
things.
to say?
Lots of things.
Well, that's how you do it. You brainstorm.
Right.
Business
Exactly. It
101.
helps. It really does help.
It does, because she might think of something I don't think of. I might think of something she don't think of, and collectively putting everybody's heads together, you come up with a lot of good solutions.
Yeah,
It's
that's
like the
right.
round table. Nights at the round table were just hookers at the round table. Not that kind of channel, but exactly. In conclusion, is there anything you'd like to say to everybody?
Antoinette is awesome. She's very biased, so you can only take so much of what she says to heart. But she is a truly wonderful, wonderful friend of mine. And I really, really am so, so, so thankful that you're having me on. I feel honored. I hope I did okay.
You did
And I
what?
hope
Awesome.
you played.
You were just being you. You were just being you. And that's what I want. None of the interviews, none of my videos are scripted. I have a list of questions so I can keep some kind of semblance of cohesiveness, and
Right.
not having a manic moment and I'm all over the place, which I have a tendency to do anyways. But that's just me. But it also makes it easier for you guys that are watching this, you guys, y'all, whatever you want to call it, or as from where I'm from, yuns, to be able to follow along and ask her questions when this premieres, because she is going to be in the chat when this premieres. I'll make the announcement on the community tab when this is going to go live. I will tell you it's sometime this month, because she is my October. Then I have Samuel for November. Handsome Samuel.
I'm looking forward to that interview as well. I am. I love these interviews that you've been doing. I've really enjoyed them. Last Minute Laura was another one. I watched that one, and that was a good one.
Lindsay was my first. I have a deep admiration for Lindsay, for a lot of reasons. But like you, she has a smile that just lights a room up, as you do, and your giggle makes me laugh.
You. Making me blush.
and what I try to do is I want to do interviews with people that are designers, creators, and kind of introduce the rest of the YT land and people that I know to you, because it might be a channel or a designer you're not used to hearing. Somebody recommended to me, and I'm going to try it. I'm going to reach out to Stephen West.
That would be awesome.
Go for the stars, right? But
right? Yes, that would be awesung.
Exactly.
Can't
So
hurt.
no, all I can do is say no, and I don't take that personally, because
No.
He's Stephen West.
Right. I was literally just looking at different things that he, some of his designs. When I was trying to name my shawl, every name I was thinking of, I was checking to make sure somebody hadn't already used that name. And man, me and Stephen West on shawl names, we were like, I was like, so then that led me into just looking at his stuff.
Oh my gosh.
Which you actually were the first person that ever said that name. It was in your videos. You were talking about something you had made or were going to make. And so that's what got my attention to him. And I started looking at his work. I mean, it is stunning. Like, only if ever. That's why I want to learn how to knit, so I can do like he does, because I just want to make it stuff.
Yeah, well, Stephen's knitting, or his knitting, his shawls, if you look at them, because he does brioche and stuff like that, but if you look at his shawls, they're sort of like a mosaic. Okay.
They are.
In the fact that they're geometric, and he adds the texture, and I mean, there's no, it's just he's an amazing designer. He really is. He's very unique in his designs. He loves his shawls. Slipstravaganza and Shawlography are two, and he's got one called Rockefeller. He's got tons of them. He's go check them out. Not sponsored, nothing, but that's another video. I'll have all of Courtney's information on where to find her patterns, and her email. That'll be there. Again, she's not that active on Facebook, but I will put the link there because you can also follow her to find out. It's another way to find out when she's releasing a pattern or a tutorial. Right. So, Courtney, again, thank you so much. And I guess we'll end this now, and then I'll find out how long it is because we have been recording. I don't think
hours.
Yeah, don't tell me how long I've been recording on here. I'm just looking at the clock of when we started. But that's okay. Who knows? Maybe we'll turn it into a part 1 and part 2.
There you go.
I'm not a crook.
Thank you, though. Thank you for real for having me on. I do appreciate it. And bye to everyone out there in YouTube land watching.
Just remember, exactly. Hug, smiles, and happiness. Pass it on. Make the world a better place. Stay positive. Preach positive. Give positive. And we'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.